All right, Israel's military says it now has complete control over the skies above Tehran this morning as the fighting between the two countries enters its fourth day. Overnight, Iran launched a new wave of missile attacks on Israel, killing at least 8 people and injuring dozens more. For its part, Iran says at least 224 people have been killed since Israel began its strikes on Friday. Ian Bremmer, president of the Eurasia Group, explained why we're seeing this confrontation now earlier on CBS Mornings.
It happened at this moment because the Israeli prime minister was facing a no-confidence vote, and his government was about to fall apart. He was going to lose his far right-wing parties. This preempts that. The Israeli people, who are very divided on Gaza, are very aligned on trying to take down the Islamic Republic and their nuclear capabilities in particular. So that's what drove it. The fact that Trump had been trying to bring peace, to bridge a deal between the United States and Iran, as much as he has between Russia and Ukraine over the past few months. He was getting frustrated. It wasn't working out. He gave the Israelis at least a flashing yellow light over the last week, if not a green to go ahead.
All right, CBS News Middle East reporter Courtney Kealy is here in Studio 55 to talk more about this escalating situation in the Middle East. Good to see you as always, my friend. So it's reported now early this morning that the Iranians are furiously, frantically trying to signal to the United States that they want to bring about a de-escalation in this. Clearly, that would be in their interest. But if you're Israel and you have complete control over the skies of Tehran, do you press the offensive or do you find some way to scale it back?
Well, let's look where it is right now. So Israel launched with 200 airstrikes, 200 jets, fighter jets overnight, 100 airstrikes across Iran. People are fleeing from Tehran, but we can talk about who they've hit and where. The top leadership of the Air Force, gone. They've gone after top members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, including the leader of the elite Al-Quds forces. You can see already up in Iran, we're seeing pictures of what they call martyrs. All of these men, all of their like 6 to 7 on billboards around the country, signifying that they died for the cause. Now, let's go to the nuclear power plants, because it's something that Netanyahu has always really talked about. Natanz, which people are familiar with. According to the IAEA, there's been damage inside, but there's no radioactivity level outside. You have to go in with protective gear. There could be some uranium contamination. That also goes for Isfahan. Similar damage, and unclear whether the centrifuges have been broken or damaged as well, which is key to those centrifuges spinning. So that's key to the nuclear power, and those seem to be broken. But there are other nuclear plants that may or may not have been touched, like Fordo, which has been coming up a lot in the news, buried into that mountaintop. The IAEA spokesman and representative said that doesn't look like it's been touched, although we're hearing reports that it has. And the reason I'm bringing all of this up was that was one of the main goals, is to stop Iran from having a nuclear bomb. And this is something Netanyahu started saying in the 90s. He reiterated it at the UNGA in 2012 in September with that Acme bomb, saying we can't get them past this level. But also the question is regime change. If so many top leaders in the military, the Air Force, have been taken out, what does this mean for the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who does not enjoy popular support among the Iranians?
So, Courtney, all right, so let's the question with regards to how close Iran is to actually acquiring a nuclear weapon has been, as you said, raised many, many times by the Israelis, Netanyahu specifically, going before many multilateral bodies to suggest that I think what people will say is, well, you know, back in the 90s and in the early 2000s, it was always we're 3 to 5 years away from getting a bomb. And that supposedly, according to the IAEA, has not happened yet. So how trustworthy is that intelligence? And then the second one is, if the goal is not just to wipe out its nuclear capabilities, Iran's nuclear capabilities, and the goal is ultimately regime change, as you know, having reported from the region for so many years, what fills that vacuum? So those are two really different questions.
Exactly. So first of all, we know from, and I've talked to nuclear expert sources, that Iran was days or weeks away from being able to assemble about 10 nuclear warheads. If they continued spinning the uranium up until the level they needed it at, they were close. So they could have de-escalated, mixed it in, diluted it, or they could have really made it more powerful.
So in other words, this time they were really,
They were days or weeks.
Okay, got it.
And then in terms of regime change, we saw what happened with Saddam Hussein when the U.S. went in. We're seeing what's happening right now with Assad out, touch and go. There's no power vacuum in Lebanon. The U.S. has helped, and other countries, European, have helped put a new leader in and decimated Hezbollah. But what will happen in Iran is the biggest question now.
The people, as you say, are not supportive of Khamenei, and we've even seen on social media that in some weird way they are cheering the Israeli attacks or the Israeli bombardment. Really quickly before we go, because we got to wrap this up, the people who live near these nuclear facilities, how because they won't know. The Iranians are not telling the citizenry that they live near these nuclear facilities. If you work there, you probably know, obviously. But people who live around these areas and these hidden bases, they're not going to know. They're in danger.
They are. Like I said, the IAEA said there's no radioactive levels above ground or outside that people have to worry about right now. But they're not necessarily there with eyes on. This is a very dangerous situation. Also, Israel is a nuclear power. They don't talk about it. They don't acknowledge it, but that is a fact as well. So it's tenuous and dangerous right now for civilians who also have been clear about regime change. They want it, but maybe not under these circumstances.
Yeah, really crucial details there. Courtney, it's good to have you in Studio 55. Thank you.